Gentlemen, start your hybrids, because this is the new Volkswagen Golf GTE. We've shown you the e-Golf before, the fully electric version. This now is the plug-in hybrid. So we got a turbo petrol engine as well as an electric drive. That's kind of not a new idea, but when Volkswagen does this, it has major impact, because they can push the market really with this car. And it's a very interesting car, because it's a different concept than the e-Golf, obviously. And we're going to find out today, what about the performance? Is it comparable to the Golf GTI or to the Golf GTD? And also, what about the environment? What about the electric drive? What if you just use the electric drive? We're going to find out about the range and about the power today. Starting with the design, it is basically a blue GTI. So everywhere where the GTI has red for the racing style, the GTE has blue for this electric environmental touch, you know. And I think it's very beautiful. You see the blue stripe here, as well as the blue GTE badge, and the VW logo also has a blue background. This part here has a small secret. The cable itself is not that beautiful. But this, ladies and gentlemen, is the future. It could be a shaver as well, but it is just for the electric loading. Actually, when you have the car opened, then the little badge also opens. Just remove this one here, plug it in, and then at the other side, the other end, you just have a basic plug. This is for a German plug now. And you can just put it in your household. By the way, as soon as you have put that one in, it's fixed. So no one can steal it when you're maybe parking inside the city. And you have to close all doors, close the car, and reopen it. Then you hear it. Then you can remove it again. So when you're coming back, that it's maybe full with the load. The electric range is supposed to be 50 kilometers, and the loading process, so like from 0 to 100, it should be about 4 hours, maybe a little bit less, when you're just using the standard plug. If you're using a wall box with a quick charger, it might also go down to about 2 hours, they say. And that brings us to more details, what's below the hood. And it's very interesting already how you open it actually, because we have a comparison, for example, to the latest Mercedes review we did. Here you don't have to stumble around. It's very easy to open it actually. You don't have to like take 3 minutes just to find how to open it. And then look at this cover. Maybe remind us of our latest review from the Mercedes A-Class AMG. There was nothing like it. And now here at Volkswagen you see everything in detail. It's very well done. And also we got the damper here, so it's automatically open, very easy as well. So what can we see here? Usually, like in the GTI, the sports version of the Golf, there's a 2-liter petrol engine, 2-liter TSI turbocharged. Here we got a 1.4 liter engine, so a bit smaller on the left side here. And so we have some space for the electric parts. So so here on the right side there's a Dsg, the Dual-Clutch Transmission, as well as the electric drive. So that is kind of the concept, that you have a quite smaller engine and then put the electric drive where you save the space. The battery, however, is placed in the, very low at the car and rather to the back sides. It's kind of in front of the back seats below the car. So it's very good for the weight balance when such a heavy part of the car is just right below here. So with the electric drive and also the electric parts here, we have about 150 kilograms extra on weight. But that's not too much, in my opinion. What is more important is what this car is really capable of. We've got a combined power output of 150 horsepower from the turbocharged petrol engine and 102 horsepower, so kind of calculated, from the electric drive. That makes 204 horsepower. Doesn't sound logical at the first hand, but it does make sense because you cannot add it up on the same level. Because both engines, like the standard petrol one and the electric drive, they run at a different torque, and so you can't sum it up at the equal level. So 204 is kind of the calculated overall horsepower output for this car. And with this power, it is almost as equal as the Golf GTD, the sports diesel version. This one got an 0 to 100 kilometers or 0 to 60 miles figure of 7.6 seconds. We're showing you very soon about this test drive. And the Golf GTD is just 7.5 seconds, so hardly any difference. Just the standard Golf GTI is 1 second faster in the acceleration. More references to the Golf GTI we got here, because here we have blue brake calipers, the GTI, red again. Everything which is red racing style of the GTI is blue here. It's very seldom that you got the blue brake calipers. I like it pretty much because blue is also one of my favorite colors. These are, by the way, the 18-inch alloys that the maximum you can get for this car. So the basic version is 16-inch, and you can get 17 and here 18. Well, these ones are also quite complicated when it comes to parking, because you can easily get some scratches. But the 16-inch actually look good. You can compare it to the e-Golf. These are the same alloys. But here, of course, you can see the blue brake calipers. By the way, look at these details here. Volkswagen, it says, just at the screw. I love these details. And the Golf GTE as well as the GTI gets these two pipes here at the rear end. And of course, another badge. And also pay attention just of the basic quality of the plastic parts even, and the rubber parts. See, everything really 100% fits to the other part. Totally flawlessly done. And also when you just close the door, just listen to it. Here, no, it doesn't sound like metal. It's, you know, there's an own sound design to that, and that also adds to this quality image. We continue with the quotations from GTI here in the interior. You maybe know that the GTI has this checkered seats in red. This one here has a checkered structure in blue. And of course we can see, for example, here we can see the blue contrast stitches here inside of the steering wheel. GTE logo, also very nice here, and the flattened end of the steering wheel. And we also got the blue stitches here at the seats. So we basically got the standard Golf 7 cockpit here, but with the special seats and the blue stitches here. This whole blue color scheme reminds us a bit of the e-Golf, but this one is kind of even a little bit more, I would say. Standard mode is 6.5-inch screen for the navigation, for the GPS, but there's also a bigger one available. In general, we got a quite high trim level for a Golf here, but also the price is quite high. In Germany we start at 36,900 euros. That's even more expensive than the e-Golf. But you must remember, this is even more complicated just from the technical side than just the electric drive. So we're starting. We are always basically starting with the electric drive. That's standard. So we put down, this is the Dsg Dual-Clutch Transmission, which is also available for petrol or diesel engines. Very nice because we got two separate transmissions, and the next gear is kind of already inset, and so you feel no shifting at all, even with a petrol engine. And this is very interesting because in this car we got 3 clutches. 2 from the Dsg standard and 1 other clutch, which is kind of responsible for the electric drive and the petrol engine to combine it, so that both can run at the same time, or just one can run separately. Now we're kind of starting uphill here. And that's of course for an electric drive not that easy. And when you go a longer way uphill here, you see that the range, the electric range, is decreasing quite fast. But then again, when you're going downhill again, you can reload the battery. More to that later on. So if you can really hold that 50 kilometers range, really depends on how you drive and where you drive. When you're driving this plug-in hybrid, you immediately pay attention to that you don't push the throttle that hard to save electric energy. And it's more like, yeah, well, like an educational drive, I must say, a little bit. But this GTE is of course also for the performance. So, right here in the middle console, we have 2 buttons. This one is for the E mode, then we're just driving with the electric power. When I kind of release it, he switches into another mode, and I can set this mode to how it's on a standard side. At the moment it's on battery hold. That means that the capacity of the battery is remained at the same level. And then again we have this GTE switch. When I press it here, the petrol engine gets activated, and then the electric drive is not for environmental friendly driving, not only, but also for the power boost. And then even if I go uphill and I pressure the throttle very hard, we have really a great drive. It's a lot of fun. What else is changed? For example, you feel it at the steering wheel. It gets a bit stiffer. You have more performance feeling here, responsive steering wheel when you're in the GTE mode. And that is really for this performance fun driving. And still you can maybe in the end get consumptions about 5 liters or something like that, because the electric drive is also helping you still with the consumption. When you're not in the GTE mode and not in the fully electric mode, you can choose which is kind of the standard mode that appears then. For example, you can put it to the battery hold here, I explained that, and kind of the same battery status is remained. In this mode here, it tries to load the battery by the petrol engine. That is not the best solution because it consumes a lot of energy. It's not very logical actually. And there's also a third option. It's hybrid auto. That could be a good solution for everyday driving because, I mean, let's be serious, not everyone wants to know every single mode and always switch it during driving, so it really gets too complicated. So maybe you can leave it in hybrid auto and then put the GTE button when you really want to have the performance, and the E mode when you're going inside the city and you have enough electric power left. No matter if you're in a city or in the countryside, you almost hear nothing. You just hear the sound from the tires, because when you're in this full electric mode, you're really so silent on the outside, just for the whole surrounding, and especially also on the inside. So this car is so relaxing to drive really, and not only from the electric drive, sometimes when you're in this hybrid auto mode, for example, and the petrol engine gets activated, you maybe don't feel it or hear it at all, because the engine is also very silent, at least when you're at low torques. When we're going downhill, there's a normal D mode. You can see it right here, D and B. And to get to the B mode, we just pull the trigger. Then we're in this B mode, and this is for the recuperation. And then we slow down and the battery reloads itself. And we can see it here now, we have 28 kilometers, it says. And we can check how much is left there when we get to the bottom of the hill. So in general, it's not always good to use the recuperation when you're just going on a straight way inside the city. It's better to let the car roll and use all of the movement energy you got. But when you're going downhill, it's very good that you have this option, because you can then refuel the battery. When you're braking, by the way, then also the recuperation is used until the point where you need more brakes, and then also the disc brakes come into option. And we can see we already gained some kilometers, some 4 or 5 kilometers already, and I think the number is still increasing. And now welcome to the dark side of the Golf GTE. Now we're almost empty, 1 kilometer left. Let's see, which switches on automatically then. Yes, and now he switched. You see this E symbol is crossed now, so you know the TSI is running. And no, battery is empty. About the everyday usability of the car. Sitting here in the front, I must say it is very, very comfortable because of these seats. I would definitely recommend these seats. I would also not take the leather seats. You don't really need them. It's just the surface is very good. Also for tall people, that's perfectly fine. And you got also side support when you got a more sporty driving method. And it's also optically attractive. We've told you about the checkered structure on the surface of the seats. Sitting in the back, standard Golf style, enough headroom still for tall people, and also the legroom is quite okay. And that's kind of also the whole concept, because this is really just a normal Golf, just with the different electric drive, the hybrid drive. That's a totally other concept than BMW, because here Volkswagen, they either offer the e-Golf or now the GTE. BMW says, okay, we got this really separate car with carbon chassis and just the electric drive, range extender, okay, but it's really just a separate idea. And here at Volkswagen we say we got one manufacturing line, and we put the e-Golf there, the normal petrol Golf, the diesel Golf, the GTE, and even the gas, the natural gas Golf. So it's just one line at the works, and that's it. And so they can also not fail if one of the concepts won't work at all. And they still keep being flexible. So who would actually use this hybrid fella? You can argue, okay, I take the e-Golf because it has a range of something between 100 and 200 kilometers, just electric drive. And this one only 50, maybe even less, depending on the conditions. Is it really enough for you? Well, Volkswagen and also other manufacturers, they argue that most of the people, especially here in Europe, they drive low two-digit kilometer count per day. So maybe 20, 30 kilometers you commute to work, front and back. And that would actually be enough even with this electric drive. The question is, can you load the car at your house or where you work? That would be very crucial. You can, however, argue that with this quite smaller battery, you can very fastly charge it again. So it would be enough, maybe you come home from work, you have a garage with electric power, or maybe you put a cable outside the door, then just about 4 hours, just if it's empty, maybe even faster, and before you go to sleep, it's already done. So that could be a good solution, because when you got still the petrol engine in it, you got a total range of 940 kilometers. So if you want to go on holiday and are not exactly sure where to get the next electric power, you still got the normal petrol engine, and with a 1.4 petrol engine, it's also never a bad choice, actually, even nowadays.